Three, two, one. Hi, this is Candy Minx in Michigan, and I've got two people. Who is it?
Eugene and
Yeah.
Stagg, and we're in Hanoi, Vietnam.
Hey, that's great to hear your voices and great to see you.
Great
I
to see
miss
you
you
too.
guys.
Miss you
So
too.
tell me, I see the photos, and a lot of the people on social media are seeing all the photos. You guys look like Anthony Bourdain and Chef Paul Prudhomme or something. I mean, you guys look like movie star travelers. Tell me, how's the food?
Well, okay, the food is ridiculous. It's so good. Um, it's hard to even tell you where to start. We're gonna start. Let's start from yesterday.
Eugene really knows a lot of the names and he's been here before and he really likes the food. So his experience with it is more than average because he has that want mixed with that knowledge. So Eugene's able to not only read a sign to go for what he's looking for, he looks at the place and the people doing it and could tell like, oh, this may be more of what I'm going for or less. And we both benefit from that greatly.
I'm sure.
So we'll go through some of the food items, okay,
Okay.
that we've been enjoying. We start with yesterday. We were at a place that was like a beer garden, but
Okay.
it was a very, very Viet beer garden. And we got there after a crazy long walk. We were at the Museum of Ethnology, which is world class. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
I want to hear
And
all about it.
oh, you will get to the museums. Um, we walked and walked and walked, and our goal was to get to West Lake. And on the map, on our phone, it looked like it wasn't that far to me. But you can't just, it's not like as the crow flies. It sort of weaves its way down, and it seems like we're walking for miles, and my dogs are howling. And we're walking through a flower market and a street that sells things like aquariums and aquarium fish and birds, canaries and chickens and pigeons and I don't know what else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was just really unusual for us to see a whole street full of that.
Mhm.
And we get down to the lake, and it's like, yes, the lake. And it's this big, like, beer patio, and it's overlooking the lake.
And before we're there, Eugene's like, there's going to be a beer place. And everything I'm looking at is coffee, coffee, coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, right. But Eugene's persistent. And we go down,
Okay.
and there's this huge, it's a huge, like, beer place. And
Like 200 people could go in there.
more, way more. And then
Wow.
when we go in, there's a guy sitting right by the entrance,
And I don't even see this.
and he just looks at us and he just laughs. He's laughing, like ha ha ha! Look at the
And there are no
tourist
tourists,
guys.
no tourists.
No tourists at all.
Oh.
Like we are the only white people in the place.
Yeah. Well, it's good to
And then
know.
Eugene's all like, in his head and his body language is like, we got to get a good table, some nice chairs, and some beers. We're going for these beers, and then we'll get some food.
All
That's what his
right.
body language is saying.
Okay.
And by
Stag noted.
doing that, Eugene passes this thing. Okay. You ever walk into a situation where you can just feel it in the air and you're like, uh-oh, something's about to go down.
Of course.
I'm looking
Yeah.
to my left, and there's this dude wearing all white with crazy long hair who's mouthing off to a server. And you could tell the server took it as long as he could and wasn't going to stand for it anymore.
Okay.
A fight was about to break out. So in my head, I'm still freaking out at the dude laughing at us. As
Yeah.
soon as we walk in, this happens. Now Eugene's away from me, heading towards a nice table.
Because all I can think of is beer.
Yeah.
Thank God one of the guys who was with that group got up and he talked them both down.
Oh, good.
And it was like a brawl was about to
So some things are like
hit.
so some things are like Chicago.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so the first item we ordered here was, and it took 3 waiters to take our order because we were just most like in the old quarter here. They're used to dealing with tourists all the time, but it's easy to communicate. These guys, it's like I don't even know how to cope with you.
Right.
So we finally managed to order, and we order a dish. It's called roasted buffalo with garlic.
Oh, jeez.
This looks interesting.
Interesting.
And imagine you have cut up slices of buffalo roasted with about 200 whole cloves of garlic.
Yeah.
Like more garlic than you could imagine you would ever use for anything for a year is
Yeah.
in this dish. And it's roasted with the buffalo, and it looks like potatoes.
Yes.
We both think there's
Yeah.
potatoes, and we
Yeah.
both stab into a spud and bite into it, and we realize it's roasted garlic. It's got a
Ooh.
bit of a crunch, and it's beautiful.
Wow.
And the buffalo was tender and wonderful, and it had some kind of vegetable in it.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh,
real surprise hit.
how wonderful. Good for
So,
you.
but the weird food there
Yeah.
was we also got some grilled pork.
Oh,
But what the grilled pork was, imagine you take some pig's feet
yeah.
and you chop them up with a cleaver into big chunks and you grill those.
Mhm.
And the idea is you basically chew on the skin and the fat and try to extract any tiny little bits of meat. I mean, there couldn't have been a quarter cup of meat in the whole dish. It was just strange for us.
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay. Cool.
And then we had wild rice with that.
Nice. Yeah, the food photos
Um,
look amazing.
oh, okay. So breakfast foods. Zoyan. Zoy is sticky rice.
Okay.
And we went to this place for sticky rice, and we got we got rice with an omelet egg and some kind of meat. What else we got in it?
Is that the one in the like pan?
No, the one where the egg was in the bowl.
Yes.
Yeah. So imagine an egg. Looks
Yep.
like it's a fried egg that's in a bowl of sauce, and it's
Mhm.
covered with the sauce.
Mm.
Okay, and then you get your sticky rice in a bowl, and it's got some meat on it, and whatever else we had ordered. And then you kind of take this omelet and you pull it out of the one bowl into the bowl you're eating from, and you pour the sauce over. And we were basically high. It was so good.
Oh,
It was
wow.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It blew our minds.
Because when you keep adding to it, the sauce, the whole thing is great from the beginning, but it keeps getting better because when everything's mixed, like
Mm.
the sauce slash soup, I don't even know what to say, gets better because the more of what you're adding, how you want to add it, is in there and gets
Yeah.
better. It's wild.
And then there's Ben Cone, which is like they'll take a big pot of water and they stretch a cloth over the top of it, and they pour a rice batter over it. They do it really, really thin, and they put a lid on it. Basically, it's a steamed crepe,
Oh,
very, very thin. And then they take that and they put some pork in it and some woodier mushrooms, and they roll it up.
get it.
And that's your basic. It's like a stack food. And we had that with some grilled Chinese sausage and some cinnamon sausage, which you would think cinnamon sausage, that's weird, but
Yeah, it does.
really, really good.
Oh,
So that was a real treat.
cool. I know that almost all of this is new for Stag, but it sounds like you might have had some food you haven't had before.
Oh, for sure. Some of the food, one of them was yesterday morning. We went for a banh mi chow. We walked out into the old quarter and let
Yeah.
the force
Yeah.
find breakfast for us.
Yeah.
And we found a place called Banh Mi 25. And you can get banh mi, which is a sandwich, but you can also get banh mi chow, which is it's basically a fry up. They serve in the pan, and they give you four great big banh mi buns that you use for sopping and dipping.
Yeah.
And I got chicken and I got beef, and then you get this big cube of pate.
Yeah.
What is the pate made of? We're not even going to ask what the pate
Okay.
is made of.
Okay.
It's super delicious. Super, super delicious. And it's got a half an inch of sauce in it.
There was an egg in it too.
And an egg, a sunny side up egg that's runny. And you take the bread and you basically dip it in the egg and the sauce.
Wow.
It's just, I mean, you might as well heat it up and shoot it. It was really something else. And then we also spent an evening on Barbecue Chicken Street.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like the social aspect of that. As soon as you walk in, the like beginning of the street, air quotes, like mouth of the alley. Some people where I'm from would know that term, like the beginning,
Yeah.
like the apron of a driveway, formal people say. As soon as you go in
Was it a
there,
snicket?
oh Christ, was it a snicket?
What's a snicket?
Oh, don't even start. There, you look at the left and there's this garage-like kitchen, all tiled.
Yeah.
And there on these stands are these square, let's say, barbecues. And they've got like 6 people in there working all the skewers.
Okay.
And all these skewers are being moved further to the left, further to the right.
Right.
And then at the end of this garage kitchen are these 2 big air conditioner-like things with these chimney funnels going up into the air, sucking up and blowing up all the smoke constantly.
So you know you found Chicken Street because coming out of this alley, barbecue chicken smoke is billowing out of the alley. You can't miss it.
Wow.
And there's about 6 or 7 places that all do the same thing. They do barbecue chicken, sweet potato fries.
Yeah.
They take a banh mi and they bang it with like a machete and they crush it and then they coat it with like a honey barbecue sauce or they grill that crisp. So they got that. They got the chicken. They have chicken feet, chicken wings, chicken thighs.
Yeah.
And beer. And if when you order your
Beer.
beer, you choose the kind of beer you want, and they bring you a bucket of it. Like with I don't know however many beers they could fit in a bucket of ice water,
6, 8 more.
and basically they charge you for how many you drink.
Yeah.
So you don't order; you just pull from your own bucket.
Nice.
And they look at the bucket to do the total, like how many drinks are left, and then
That's
they
good.
look around for all the bottle tops or the cans or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
when,
how they charge
when
it.
they bring you the chicken, each piece of chicken has got this big bamboo skewer through it. And as you're there thinking, how am I going to cope with this?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to start. Then comes Buddy with this big pair of scissors. And he comes and he takes the skewers out of your chicken and he cuts it into pieces with these giant scissors for you. And it's very, very social. People just sit around and they drink and chew on chicken.
I kept telling Eugene over and over again, to me, it was like a block party. It's like you're invited to a block party. There's kids running around,
Nice.
moms and aunties watching, grandmas, grandpas everywhere, all the young stuff coming and going, some of them working.
Cool.
It's so you're like, wow.
Nice.
So another interesting kind of food that we had the other night, and we'll look for more of it, is there's something in Vietnam they call up here they call it Khambin Zan. And I think in Saigon it's Khăm Yan. And it translates loosely to commoner's rice or budget rice or economy rice. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they give you a plate of rice and then they'll have whatever pre-made items they'll have in a display, and you point at which ones you want because a lot of them are really hard to identify. They're really unusual from our palate, right. And they'll heat up what you want and serve it to you on the rice, and then they serve you this really lovely cold light soup with a green vegetable in it.
Yeah,
that's like refreshes.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting way to eat, and it's very inexpensive.
It goes really well with whatever you choose on the side dish.
Yeah. It's like
you got the soup next to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're staying in an alley right now.
Oh, you are?
And, well, we're in a hotel, but the hotel is in an alley.
Yeah.
And around the corner, just like 2 buildings or 3 buildings down, there's another smaller alley. Yeah. And that alley, in the early mornings, an auntie sets up basically a soup kitchen there, and she's making, I don't know what you call it, but it's a kind of soup that has pork knuckles and shumai, which is like a meatball made with pork and jicama. And that's in the soup along with noodles and who knows what else. Super delicious. Yeah. And you just basically, because that's all she does, you sit down and she brings it to you. And then they bring you the stuff called, I think it's Quay or Che Quay, I think. It's like breadsticks, and it's crispy on the outside, and they're about 6 inches long,
Yeah.
and they're sort of semi-hollow inside, I guess.
Yeah.
And you dip them in your soup, and they're
Cool.
just super,
Wow.
super wonderful.
Sounds amazing.
And right now we went the end of our regular alley, and we went to another auntie who was serving another kind of mystery soup that was also really super delicious.
Yeah.
So there's everywhere. There's like restaurants that are just a family is making stuff in an alley, and then there's some places that actually have a building,
Yeah.
and they're trying to do something a little bit more upscale, but it doesn't mean the food's necessarily better.
Okay.
Sometimes the stuff in the alley is really, really amazing.
I bet.
So the lady who does the soup in that alley, she's gone by about 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But by about 1 p.m., a new outfit opens up, and these are really enterprising and very popular. By evening, they're packed on the little kitty furniture you're sitting down on, and they do rolled sausages, grilled rolled sausages, fried, and fries. And then it's served with cut up cucumbers and big chunks of jicama. We weren't sure what we were eating because we'd never seen jicama like sliced up like slices of apple.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it was actually really good, especially with some hot sauce. So that's one kind of way of eating, and then there's fine dining restaurants, there's buffet restaurants, and then there's hot pot.
Yeah.
So we decided we'll try hot pot once.
Okay.
And hot pots, it's a fairly expensive way to go. It's about 25 or $30 for two.
Okay.
It was the most adventurous thing
for him,
for me.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
know that.
For a lot
I
of
know
people
that's
who
not
are-
true. But we'll get to what I think your most adventurous you.
So we sat down there, and they have like a couple of set things you could get, like combos of stuff, and they bring you a burner and basically a wok full of or some kind of container pot full of broth, and in the broth is chunks of corn on the cob, lemongrass, various veggies, who knows what else. And then they brought us a big box of Napa cabbage and a big pile of enoki mushrooms, and then several octopus, small octopus, several squid, several like a big pile of or clams. They're clams.
Yeah, clams.
Small clams, and oh my God, these clams were so good. And then rolled beef. So it looks like thin slices of red beef rolled, and you just throw it in the hot pot, and you just let it kind of cook in there until you think it's done, and then you take it out, you fish it out. They have implements to fish out what you want, and it's just unending amounts of food.
It's insane.
All super delicious.
Wow.
It was really something else, and people were going by saying, "Oh, that looks good," as we're dropping another squid in.
Wow. Well, I have to ask, speaking of adventures, I want to know how the hell you got Stagg to climb a mountain above the lotus field.
I didn't get him to do it, and I didn't do it.
Eugene and I were researching tours.
Yeah.
We went to this place, and they told us about the tour. And then, so we put our money down and agreed for the tour. And then Eugene and I show up, and they pick us up, and it was like a van bus, and it was just a certain amount of people, which was really good. Yeah.
And a guy named Zung was our tour guide.
Yeah.
And they took us to a place called Ninh Binh. And Ninh Binh is about 2 hours south of Hanoi. And it has these limestone mountains that look like the mountains in King Kong. Why? Because that's where King Kong was filmed.
Nice.
It's exquisite and it's beautiful. But when we stopped on the way for coffee, you could see around some of the mountains, there's all these cement plants. And basically, what they've done is they had started to really seriously exploit this area for building materials.
Oh,
And it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which was good because it meant they had to preserve it, but
yeah,
only a chunk of it. And they kept a chunk of it. Basically, they're going to hew those mountains to the ground for building materials.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know it's heartbreaking, but
yeah.
they've protected this other area, but
Right.
they let people go in a really organized
Yeah.
fashion.
How big was the
So
climb? How many feet was it?
how big was what?
How high was it? How many feet?
The mountain?
Yeah.
It was 500 steps, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all. It looked so much higher from the photos.
It was
Like
high.
it was
Yeah.
high. And how'd you feel, Steg, when you got up there and saw one of your wife's obsessions?
Well, I told myself, a lot of people tell themselves they're going to go to the top,
Yeah,
and the steps are intense.
The steps
yeah.
get higher and higher as you go up.
And then they
Oh,
wind up camping out, sitting on the side.
yeah,
Now, on the side on the left,
yeah,
there's a little area for everybody to go.
yeah.
And then a handful of those people uh, tell themselves they're going to go to the top, and then like half of them go to the top.
And I stayed at the bottom because I've got this tendonitis and
Yeah.
I've been nursing it
Yes.
and I've been doing okay with it, and
Yeah.
I want to get through the trip without wrecking my foot completely. So I just decided I don't need to go up this mountain. And
Okay.
Stag said, I'm going.
I told myself, I made
He said,
myself
I'm
go.
going.
I made myself go. And
I'm
then
impressed.
I could see why everybody goes to the left and just camps out on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Because it's a
And
climb.
it's slippery, right?
It can be if you're going too fast, it's slippery.
And if you fall off this mountain, it's a long, long way down.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty impressed with the photos, and I was really impressed
And
with
yes, there was a stupa on the top.
that's what I'm saying. I laughed so hard. I thought he took a lot of photos of it. I thought, how does he feel when he climbs up? And there's a stupa in its natural habitat. That's it.
Well,
That's
that's exactly
how,
it, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so efficient because it's in the night sky. So it's a GPS device from 5,000 years ago, and there it was on the top of a mountain. I thought it was wonderful.
And also related,
Yes.
on the eco part of the tour, where we
Yes.
rode bikes and everything, we
Yeah.
went to these big land areas that were very beautiful that had temples. Now,
Oh,
at these temples were these stones that were laying down, and they were called king stones. But because of the dynasties they had
Or
in the
dragon
past,
stones.
yeah, some of them are decorated with dragons. And again, it was annoying because you at the base of the stupa and the corners and everything. But the detail is they made the stone as big as the king. So it was like fit to his size.
yeah.
So there's an interesting story about this bit of history there.
Yeah.
At one point in the Middle Ages, the Vietnamese decided to make this area their capital because they wanted to have a capital that could be defended because they didn't have a very good army. So they needed a place that was easy to defend. So for I think like 48 years or something, this was the capital. And they had this king was there. And this normally it was this particular group of Vietnamese, and keep in mind there's 55 ethnic Vietnamese groups,
Oh,
and some of them are patrilinear, some of them are matriarchal,
yeah.
some of them have switched
Yep.
over the years. Like
Wow.
it's figuring out whose tradition is what is next to impossible. Hence the
Oh.
Museum of Ethnology.
Ooh.
But this king, normally he's supposed to give the wealth when he dies to the eldest son,
Hmm.
and this guy decides, well, no, I'm going to give it to my favorite, the youngest son.
Uh-oh.
Well, you can imagine that the other five sons were less than amused. So all the sons ended up killing each other and the king, right? The end.
Oh God.
Whoever ended up as king last decided enough of this. Let's move the capital to Hanoi. And in a week, they took everything that they could take and they moved it up to Hanoi and made that the capital. And all the buildings have been raised, and there's only like there's a gate and a few other bits of evidence that it was
Right.
ever a capital city.
Right. Wow.
And then you get to this area, we're going to go we're going to go on a boat ride. And I thought, okay, we're going to go on this silly tourist boat ride.
Uh-huh.
And I had seen pictures of it, and there is like a flotilla of these boats with these people rowing tourists around in the boat.
I have to
And I
say
thought,
boat. I have to say boat is a very generous term. It looked like a cigarette pack.
yeah, it's very tippy.
Yep.
It is very
And
tippy.
one Stag is not a fan of caves or boats or bats. So I
He
was
did
very
so good. He did so good.
I think you're
So
very
we climbed
brave.
into these boats, and
Very
the
brave.
climbing in and out is the hard part because it's super tippy. So you sit there, and every now and then the rower pushes you over because you got to be balanced, right?
My
And
God.
she's rowing you along, and you're thinking, okay, we're on the tourist boat ride.
Yep.
Haha, this is
Yep.
fun. And then all of a sudden, you see along the water an opening in the
Yeah.
rock,
Yeah.
and we're going towards it, and we're getting closer to it. We go in the opening, and they have a few lanterns in there so you can kind of see. And
Right.
there's stalactites or whatever the ones that hang down
Yeah.
are coming down, and the rower will go, head down, head down, head down, head down.
Oh my God. Oh
You
my God.
you have to
Yes,
stop or you'll
you have
smash
to
it.
you have to lower your whole front body, and sometimes you're going, is my chin going to go to my knees or not, or
And one
how
of
low
these
do we
goes
got to go to get through this
it
thing?
goes 300 meters through the mountain, and you come out the other side.
Oh my God. Were
The
you
funniest
scared?
It's
time,
stunning.
Candy, the funniest time is we're in the big open areas and you're looking at all these mountains and jungle, and you see these tiny little ducks, like they're a little bigger than our phones, I swear to God.
Oh,
And
wow.
they just duck into the water, and
Yeah.
they go underwater forever before they decide to pop up
Oh,
again. It's so
oh.
cute.
Were you guys
But while all
scared?
this is going on,
Yeah.
the lady who's rowing behind us,
Yeah.
out of nowhere, she starts humming her little song. Just because she needs to pass the time. She does this all day.
And she's rowing us along, and you're in this incredible nature with all these tourists, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you hear bring, bring, and she answers her cell phone. She's got a phone call.
Wow. Wow.
She has a little conversation with someone.
Well, she's got kids in
And
school,
then you
probably.
get to the area. They kept some of the set from the King Kong.
Really?
Yeah.
She points. She goes, King Kong, King Kong, King Kong.
Oh,
So
cool.
even though they've controlled it, and you feel like you're kind of a tourist being led through all this with all these
Yeah.
other tourists, in a way, it's good because they've done it in a way that nobody is dropping garbage. Nobody is taking crap away. They're looking after it, right? And when you go through this mountain, I'll tell you, Candy, it doesn't matter if there's 15,000 people around you in boats. You're underneath a mountain with a whole mountain on top of your head, and you're ducking down, going through this crazy cave, and it's just the most spectacular thing.
Wow, it's like Buckaroo Banzai in the fifth dimension or something. You went through a mountain.
It was
You get all those feelings. It's and inside some of the temples where they drop you off at,
Yeah.
you would laugh, all of us, anyone getting in and out of the boat in order to go up the steps to go to these temples.
Yeah.
And these temples have figures in them the size of Mardi Gras floats.
Oh,
Imagine that.
wow.
All carved and painted out of wood and everything. It's hyper.
It
And then
sounds,
when we climb back into the boat
yeah.
in order to continue on to go to the original spot, our rower lady, because there's four of us,
Yeah.
couldn't get in.
Oh,
So I
no.
thought we were going to drift away. And she just says something to her friend, and she walks on the neighbor boat, and the neighbor boat doesn't have anybody in it. So she kind of like rows over to us, and then she jumps in. And I'm like, she made that look way too casual.
These ladies row these boats all day, and they do okay because you're kind of encouraged to tip the ladies who row the boats.
Yeah.
And so they do okay, eh? Everybody gives them, I don't know,
Sure.
$20 or $30 or something,
Right.
or $10 or whatever you give them. Anyway, every trip she's coming out with some dough, and that money goes a long way here.
Good. Good. Good.
Oh, and also in the food note, there, really interesting in Ninh Binh, part of this tour, which, I mean, amazingly enough, it was like 85 US a person to do this tour,
Sounds
and
worth it.
the meal the meal was probably worth that. They
Wow.
filled the table with
My
dishes.
favorite was goat, Andy.
Oh,
They have this
goat.
certain kind of goat out
Mountain
there.
goats.
Yeah. And the way they prepare it.
Yeah.
And you thought with all these people, we were all hungry, we'd be able to finish everything on the table. They just keep bringing food and
Oh.
sauces and shrimp
It was just
and
overwhelming.
vegetables and different kinds of rice and things that are related to egg rolls, yet they're not egg rolls. Some sausages, other fish.
Yeah.
And we're all trying to eat as much as we can, and we're looking at all this food like we're not getting through all of this.
Great.
So
Right.
meantime, you see the goats. You see the goats wandering around, and they farm the goats. So the goats are owned by the farmers, but they teach the billy how to get back home, and they let him loose. And
Oh.
all the other goats in the pack follow the billy.
Oh.
So they have a way of training the billy goat to go anywhere in the area. So
Yeah.
they'll go off for the whole day and come back at the end of the day.
Cool.
I mean,
You couldn't have
it's
been
a
with
sad joke because they're going to get killed and eaten. But you know,
Oh.
you couldn't have been with us, Candy, because if you saw the baby goats, you would have jumped off your bicycle and run to try to catch them and hug
Seriously.
them
here
forever.
they
You'd
were
be
off
there
the field.
forever.
Cute.
That's how cute the babies were.
Oh, adorable. It sounds like an incredible
Yes.
day trip.
You know, it was well worth it, and it was a nice change from the city.
Correct.
So that was good. And we have another day trip tomorrow where
Ooh.
we talked to the family that runs the hotel here, and we said we want to go to Haiphong, and we
Okay.
want to find a driver to take us to Haiphong, drive us around, show us the city, show us where to get good food, and then drive us back.
Oh,
It's
good.
about a 2-hour drive east.
Okay.
And they found us a guy, no problem. Took him one phone call. He had a guy nailed down.
Yeah.
Cost is about the same as the Ninbin tour, but we would have to buy our own food, which will be $2, $3. It's
Right, right.
nothing.
Good for you.
So that's tomorrow.
Cool.
We also had a really interesting time.
We went to a women's museum.
Yes.
Oh, women's museum.
Yes.
You think, okay, you're going to wind up looking at some old stuff. Oh, yeah, childbirth's hard, yada, yada.
Oh
Look
my
at
God.
old posters. Look at old posters from the like Ho Chi Minh era, right? That's what you think.
It's
Uncle
world class.
No way. They go in so in depth of
Wow.
how to raise silkworms, how to get silk from the silkworms, how do you put silk together to make clothing and ornamentation.
How to use tree branches to make the looms to weave the stuff and then do the embroidery. And
how do you do your hair? How to fold these blankets into hats, and that's just the one group.
And then all the
like,
traditions.
Oh, it just goes on and on and on, and it's not.
And what happens when you get married, and like how you choose the wedding day. The fortune teller does that.
Okay.
And what the bride's responsibility is in certain of the Vietnamese cultures, and the bride's family's responsibility in other ones. And it was vast. It was incredible. It was really one of the best museums I've ever been to. And we were both kind of poo-pooing it. We just thought, why would they just have only women's stuff? But it's because the women do so much of the stuff here, you know?
Yeah.
And so many revolutionaries. So many revolutionaries. I couldn't handle looking at any more pictures or reading any
Showing
more
the secret orders into your
They
clothing.
had secret orders.
Yeah.
They had photo footage of them wearing like these drapery masks crossing a bridge for secret meetings. Because they have to survive battles and wars and everything else.
Like the Ben Gesserits in Dune.
I don't know about them.
Yeah, they're
of course, because it's Dune, because I don't pay attention to Dune. So it's confusing because there's all these different cultures going on, but looking at it from the women's perspective, and basically they're saying our women are heroes. And a few years ago, they identified, I was 200 women
at least,
and they had their pictures in the museum. 200 women who, for some reason, they considered heroes, and some of them are women who they leave their husband at the farm with the kids while
Yeah.
they go into Hanoi to go to the market every day and sell stuff on the streets of Hanoi. And maybe after 2 weeks, they'll bring home $20
Yeah. Yeah.
because they need something, right? And so the women are doing this and the hard work. These are the women who put these things on their shoulders and they're carrying around fruit
Right.
all day and trying to sell them. And I'll tell you, we saw one day, we were sitting down at that grilled sausage place
Yep.
and they were really busy and they had kind of spilled out over almost into the street, and they had set up tables over by the cathedral too, which was right there, and the cops came by.
Yeah.
And the deal is, and it's the funniest thing, you're not allowed to sell food on the street in Hanoi.
Okay.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
Everybody sells food on the street in Hanoi.
Right.
So it's illegal, but everybody does it.
Yeah.
Except that every now and then the cops come along and they roust out people. And particularly they pick on these women who come from the ethnic communities and are trying to scrape a few dollars together. And we saw the cops grab this woman and she got loose and she's running down the street, running away with her thing. I guess she had a bicycle with all her fruit, and fruit's going everywhere. And people are picking up her fruit, trying to help her. And the cop runs after and grabs her. And it's basically nobody's allowed to do it, but they're leaving everybody else do it, but they're picking on her.
Right.
Right. So we don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
Like how those prejudices work and why they're picking on certain people and not other people. But it was pretty interesting to see. But it also shows you, we come here and we love all the things that we love, but there's things that are kind of disturbing to us too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Traffic. What can we say about traffic? Stagg was gonna go on a grab bike on this trip until he saw the traffic.
So you think
This is not funny. Eugene could laugh all he wants. The whole world could laugh. And I don't care.
He's not getting on a motorcycle.
I'm not getting on a motorbike here.
I really
don't
didn't
care.
think you would. I really knew you wouldn't. I knew you wouldn't.
I knew I was gonna.
Oh, you did, yeah.
I knew I was going to. But then you see the traffic.
Yeah.
And it does not let up. It does not let up. It is constant.
We refer to street lights as street suggestions.
So Eugene will be on his phone, kind of like navigating kind of a thing. And then I'll watch the light when we're at the corner.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, red suggestion. That doesn't mean we can't cross.
Right.
It means you got to look carefully.
Yes.
And then sometimes I'll go green suggestion.
Which doesn't mean
that
means cross.
Right. That means over 50% you're crossing because you got the light. That doesn't mean anything.
Are you taking cars across the city or just walking your brains out?
Well, we've been doing a lot of walking our brains up, but we have started to take grab cars.
Good.
To get like the Ethnology Museum, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
That's about 5 kilometers away, and we've been doing lots of walking. At least we're doing it. It was a long walk.
Yeah.
If we were going to try to do that, so we took a grab car out there, and that's fine. The grab cars are fine. They're a little more expensive than the grab bikes that my friend won't go on.
Yeah,
he's scared.
I knew he wouldn't. When we really was wondering how that was going to work out.
You think I shouldn't be scared because I saw dogs riding on the thing.
Oh, yeah.
This one dog had his 2 paws in the front basket over the light, looking at everybody.
Oh, yes.
His hind legs are on the little base on the bottom. Who's ever driving the thing is driving it.
Well, also talking on his cell phone and smoking.
Yeah, you got to know your limits. I mean, you're not comfortable with it, you can't force it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I really didn't.
And some of the driving, like on the way back from Ninh Binh, as I'm filling out the little feedback form, was your driver courteous and safe driver? I click yes. And then I look out the window and I realize what this man is doing. He is pulling ahead of a transport truck.
Yeah.
Okay. Pulling up to within 5 inches of the bus in front of him and then shifting left in front of the transport. I don't even know how he fit in there. And then at one point we're driving and there's like a 50-foot transport truck to the left of us, a couple of feet away, and our bus. And then there's this girl on her Vespa in between, happily sitting there, driving away. Everything's fine. It's like I was scared for her.
Yeah.
And sometimes the traffic, you go into the intersection and the lanes all merge together and people are right in front of you.
Right.
It is pretty frightening.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn frightening.
Did you go to the street with the train?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
here's the story for you. They put up these gates because they
Yes.
don't want anybody to walk on there at certain times.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean a train's coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's this one guy. There's this one guy. I called him General Nuisance. He's
Yeah.
sitting down.
Also, General No Go.
General No Go is his real name.
Yeah.
Oh, the uniforms here are killer. They got great uniforms. I'll give them that.
Uncle
And
Louis
Eugene,
took care of them.
yeah, Eugene wants to go around the gate in order to go down to wherever to take me to show me something. And he gives Eugene a look and gives him the big X with his arms. Like, no. As he does this, Eugene's like, okay, okay, and goes back behind the fence.
Right.
Out of nowhere comes this girl. She's not even 11 years old.
Yeah.
She's got a menu in her hand and goes to Eugene. Here, follow me. And Eugene goes, okay. So this little girl is marching proudly with the menu like in her hands, like she's carrying a book
through this narrow
and
passageway.
Eugene's following her, and I'm following Eugene, and we
Yeah.
are going through something out of a movie.
Yeah.
Passageway,
narrow
we can
passageway.
hardly fit through it.
And
Yeah.
everywhere I'm looking, left to right, I'm looking in everybody's houses. Look at the TV's on, they're doing the dishes, somebody's dog's looking at me, another 6 feet, more housing. She's walking. We go, out of nowhere, she takes a left. I almost stop because I'm looking at on the right. There's this whole glass door with all the nicest furniture and Buddhas and everything behind
Yeah.
it. I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
I look to the left. We walk through somebody's dining room, through their kitchen, onto the track area. And on the track area is where they have all the entrances and exits of all these different restaurants.
Right.
So this little girl stops and waits, bows a little bit and puts her arm out. And Eugene and I sit down, of course.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so you just imagine General
Wow.
No Go, General Nuisance there is
Yeah.
there not letting anyone walk through.
Right.
She takes us around the back way, and
Right.
there's hundreds of people in there, hundreds of people, and Buddy is there saying you can't go through. But once you're through, you're through.
You're through. Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. So that's
Yeah.
kind of train. We weren't there when the train went by, but
Okay.
maybe we'll do that yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
We went to this place we call the Edge.
Ooh.
So-
Okay, Candy. There's this long mosaic.
Yeah.
They claim, and it's claimed in the world as the world's longest
mosaic.
mosaic. Okay.
Goes for miles.
And then there's this mass expressway. And there's a walking bridge over it. And on top of the walking bridge are these sculpture things of whales and weird animals.
Yeah.
Then you go to the other side. And when you walk down the other side, just by looking, you're like, this is even grittier and grimier than all the gritty and grimier spots that are around the old section and everything now.
Yeah.
So Eugene are like, okay, let's go.
And you have to imagine, like the wall that the mosaic is on. Why have they put it on that wall? That wall is a dike. That wall is
It's a levee.
It's to stop the flooding from the Red River.
Oh.
But China has been siphoning off water for agriculture before the Red River ever gets to Vietnam for so long that there hasn't been a flood there in a long time. So of course, there's an entire community has sprung up on the other side of the dike, and it's fascinating because it's full of these long dark tunnels and weird shops, and it's very, very strange. But we've managed to find ourselves to the other end of it. We call that the Edge because you can then see the floodplain of the river.
The pavement stops and the sidewalk stop, and you're on dirt road. And everywhere you look, there are home gardens and pots and little huts for roosters. And then you look to your
And
right,
everybody's
and
got a dog.
and you look up, and they're all not quite condos, not quite apartments, all over the place. There's a lot of laundry. There's some scooters parked, and then Before you even get to that spot, though, there are a lot of repair shops for everybody's scooters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's wild. So you go in this open area and then it's like nature. And then you look down where the river, quote unquote, is, and they are just farming the hell
Yeah,
out of it.
serious market gardening.
Wow.
And you have no idea, right?
Wow.
It just
You have
changes
no idea.
from this crazy crowded area with these narrow passageways to this open area. And people have these little compounds at the back where their dog stays and their roosters are. And it's nothing to see 6 roosters hanging out there,
God.
just hanging out, having a day.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting.
And then you see semi-normal things like ladies pushing strollers, and you're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. There's families, yeah. There's people
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So I want to back up for a second
Sure.
because when we got to Seoul, our flight was late.
Uh-oh.
And it was late to the point where it was pulling in at the time our connecting flight was pulling out.
Oh no.
So we're landing thinking, oh shit, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Well, they had arranged for another flight for us. We didn't realize yet that was going to go like in another hour and a half.
Okay.
And so we have to get to this area where we get a train to a different terminal. And of course, everything's in Korean, and people are giving us what help they can, and we're trying to use the force to get to this train to find out where the heck our flight is. And we get to this escalator, and at the same time I get to the escalator, this woman gets to the escalator, and she's struggling with her baggage to get it onto this escalator. And I look at her, and I think she looks familiar, and she looks at me, and she says, "Eugene."
What?
Yeah.
I swear to God. And it's like, Charlotte? And okay, Charlotte, I see almost every day at the dog park. You may have met her. She is Greg's mom,
Okay.
the
Well,
dog Greg.
didn't she know you were going to Vietnam?
No, I never mentioned it to her.
And
you
Yuji
did?
didn't know she was going.
She was going to Thailand.
Obviously.
So we were on the same flight. We didn't realize it.
That's ridiculous.
So that's crazy. In the Seoul airport, you run into someone you see almost every day. It's like,
Yeah, that's
what's
really
this?
crazy funny.
So then they got us, we got to Hanoi, and we had to, from the Seoul airport, we're contacting the hotel saying, change our driver time.
Yeah.
Because we're not, he's going to be there at 10:30. We're not going to be there till midnight. So we managed to connect with the driver. The driver takes us to our hotel,
Yeah.
and we get into the hotel, and it's like there's nobody there because Buddy, the desk clerk, is asleep on the couch.
Oh God.
And he's wearing all black, and he's got like silver blondie hair
Yeah.
that he's working on, and he's blending in with the sofa.
So we get up there to the
He's
hotel.
laying there, and Eugene's going, "Hello, anybody? Can somebody help us?" We're looking around going, is there a bell? Are we knocking on something? What are we doing?
So we're
Yeah.
grateful to have a room. Here it
Yeah.
is after midnight. We get there. We're looking around the hotel room, and we can't get the outlets to work, even with the universal adapters. And it looks like the ceiling in the bathroom's about to collapse.
Yeah.
And there's black mold in places. And the bed are so lumpy that it's really, really hard to sleep. So we stayed there the night, and then we bailed.
Oh.
Had to have a big fight with them. They're like, "Well, you booked through Agoda. We expect you to pay for the next day at least."
Right.
It's like, look, I'm not paying. Well, we're going to charge you for the next day. You work it out with Agoda. So I contacted Agoda,
Yeah.
and I said, this is what happened. We
Yeah.
took pictures, and I said, I've taken extensive pictures. This is
Yeah.
what we saw. They want to charge us for another day. This was a huge ripoff.
Oh dear.
If they charge us, I'm getting the credit card to stop the payment on it, and I will publish a review with
Right.
photos, and that's going to just put them out of business. So they can do what they want. So we just
Oh, dear.
left.
Yes.
And then we had to go back there because I had left some clothes in a drawer. So I had to go back there and pick up the clothes. It's like,
And you know what's funnier than that, Candy? Candy, this is what's funnier than that. The guy who was sleeping all
I'm
the time
embarrassed.
on the thing.
Yeah.
Candy, the guy who was sleeping all the time on the sofa,
Yes.
who never wanted to do anything.
Right.
They had another lady who was just as bad that takes over his shift when he's not there. We go to the place to pick up the clothes.
Yeah.
It's the only lady that works. She's smiley, happy. She's on top of everything.
Right.
It's
Right.
nuts.
Right. Yeah.
It
Funny.
was so funny. It
It
was
is
so
funny.
funny. And that neighborhood's a cool neighborhood. It's a cool neighborhood.
Yeah.
They've got like lanterns and things hanging from the trees,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of restaurants all slammed together.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Wow.
So we're in a hotel now that's located. We decided the next morning, let's go out, take a walk. I'll show you the lake. We'll walk around the lake and we'll shop for a hotel.
Yeah.
And we stopped into a couple places. The third place we got to was Magic. They had a room. They showed us a room. They said it won't be ready till 2.
Yeah.
So we came back, and this place is great.
Yeah. I want send me photos to put on our Patreon page, please.
Okay, this is like the same price as the other place. It's much better. It's clean and comfortable, and the people here are really great. They have a laundry service. They set up our Haiphong thing. We think it's a family because this one kid seems to be working here every day, 20 hours a day.
I'm feeling some Faulty Tower vibes here,
Well, there's every level of hotels. Like you can go to a hotel that's going to cost you 300 US a night, and it will be a top of the line hotel, whereas that you would pay $1,000 a night for in Toronto, 5,000 if Taylor Swift is in town.
Right. Yeah, you guys missed all that.
Yeah.
Saw lots of beautiful women with their mini skirts and cowgirl boots walking around.
We saw a little clip where she was saying, "Hey, Toronto, we heard from some people that you were afraid we weren't going to come and see you, but we never was there a plan to miss out on seeing our friends in Toronto. Of course we're coming." Right. No wonder she's so popular. She's just so nice to her fans.
Was it never?
And we saw another little clip. She's coming into a venue or out of a venue or something, and the fans are all there, and the security's trying to hold them back, and they're going, "Stay back, stay back." And she looks over the security guard and she says, "Stay back, please."
Yeah. And
then she continues walking. It's like, you be nice to my fans.
Yes.
That was pretty impressive, actually. Yeah. She's very, very poised.
Yes.
And in control, I tell you.
She's a phenomenon.
Oh, and then it's 4 a.m. and I wake up. Because I get up a lot. I don't sleep long periods at once, and I get up in the morning, and I'm of course researching, and somehow or other I find this ad for a jazz club, and there's a picture, and I recognize the picture. The picture is from the cover of an album called Languidity by Sun Ra, and it says online that at this jazz club they're going to do a performance of Languidity in its entirety. Amazing. So we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. But somehow we show up there, and somehow there was some kind of scheduling thing. They put Languidity on the website, but they printed flyers saying it was a tribute to some other guy who I didn't know, who's an organist.
I think it was Lester Young.
Okay. Lester Young.
So that night, instead of being a tribute to Sun Ra, it was a tribute to Lester Young.
Well, that's pretty good too.
Anyway, it was great.
Better than pretty good.
The band, as it turned out, was fabulous. You get there and you go up the stairs. We're always walking up big staircases. I'm telling you, steep staircases.
Yeah.
Because everything is skinny and tall.
Your poor tendon, your poor foot.
Yeah. So we get up there, and it's this cavernous space with this really tall ceiling.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful stage.
Yeah.
And they're projecting like Hanoi in behind. And this band comes on. It's a quartet. It's led by Bao Long. And he's this Vietnamese guy who doesn't smile. And there's a woman playing piano and a guy on bass and a drummer that was such a great drummer. He was like the standout performer, I thought, of the night.
Yeah.
So good. And he would play, and he'd get so into it, and he'd be so happy. You could feel the joy of the music just exuding from this drummer. It was really quite the thing. And you order your drinks. It was really quite nice. You order your drinks online, so you never talk to the waitress, and they just keep bringing your drinks, so you don't have to interrupt the jazz show, right?
Right.
By talking to the waitress. So you just order online, and that worked out really well.
Yeah.
So
So
great, you got
there's
to see
another,
live music.
yes, and there's
Yeah.
another jazz club we're going to go to near the Opera House. The fellow who owns that is like the grand old man of Hanoi jazz. He has
Oh,
a book coming out that I'll probably pre-order. I think it's
yeah.
called Playing Jazz in Socialist Vietnam.
Ooh.
And this guy has basically taught everybody.
Uh-huh.
He's the master, and everybody's come to him to learn the jazz licks.
The
So
club we were at was called Long
long
Wait.
waits,
Long Wait.
yeah,
Cool.
and it's located in an alley.
Okay.
There's a If you go somewhere in Hanoi, 50% chance it's in an alley.
Denali, yeah. You guys been having fun, laughing, enjoying everything.
We've been having a ball. Oh, another
Any,
food thing.
yeah,
We
another
went to a place called the Hanoi Social Club,
yeah.
which has been open since about 2011. And it's run by a couple. One of them's from Australia, the other's from here. And they decided to open up basically a Melbourne cafe in an alley in Hanoi.
Oh,
So it's Melbourne prices too. Instead of having the $3, $5 lunch, you're having the $20 lunch, and it's a little more expensive. But we had burger and fries and stuff like that, and I think you had chicken sandwich.
Yeah, the chicken sandwich was really good. The atmosphere is different, so the music and your surroundings and everything are totally, quote
yeah.
unquote, different from what's
Yeah.
considered, quote unquote, normal around
Sure.
here, and that's a nice switch.
There is an alternative music scene here. We haven't really searched for it, but that would be the starting point, because they have nights where they play Hanoi alternative music
Oh, interesting.
at that place.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
we're located now just an alley walk from the St. Joseph Cathedral, which is, imagine taking a place that's a maze of huge crowded buildings and
Yeah.
then plunking down Notre Dame in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's modeled after Notre Dame. I guess
really,
it's not as big, but
really.
it's pretty darn big. It's a cathedral. It's not a
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
And it's just there, and around it is this whole neighborhood. So a lot of times, if we're just looking for a casual dinner or breakfast, we'll just walk around the neighborhood.
Excellent.
Because,
Wonderful. So
like last night, sorry.
I was going to say you finally got to see the Notre Dame because it was still being constructed when we were in Paris, Stag.
That's
We
funny.
the scaffolds, yeah.
So in the morning, we like to have coffee. There's about 6 coffee shops that surround this cathedral, and they all have seats that face out to the cathedral, and you could just sit there and enjoy your coffee. And a lot of the Vietnamese people here get this snack that I don't know what the heck it is. It looks like it's got rice and coconut, and
Right,
it comes wrapped in a banana leaf. They
right,
unravel it and they eat it with their fingers.
right. At the Ethnology Museum, I saw and read how this is done, and I still don't understand it.
Well, that's
But
cool.
it's they a lot of it is purchased and eaten.
Uh-huh.
And some guys have these little signs that they'll just on a string attached to a tree, and people will go there and buy all this stuff, and
Yeah.
then they sit around in their usual spots and they eat it.
So it's
Because
like
of the coffee,
yeah.
Eugene taught me that they have this whole thing, egg coffee. I tried one. It's so like thick and creamy. I don't even see how you could still call it coffee,
Yeah.
but it was good.
I've had one, yeah.
And then Eugene taught me there's a whole thing where they have got these little hey dude, nice marmots that go around in coffee fields and actually eat the bean, and then they collect the poop and make coffee out of that.
Yeah.
And
Serious.
and
Weasel coffee.
and people come from all over just to buy bags of that stuff.
Nice marmot.
But how about it?
Civic.
That's what they should call it. Nice marmot.
Yeah.
And you and I though, and us like the salt coffee.
Oh yeah. And
Salt?
we got turned.
Yeah, it's like a real light taste, and it all goes together. And everybody asks each other, "How would you describe it?" And everybody goes, "I don't know."
Is it like
It's-
salted
we
But
caramel?
it's really good.
We got turned on to
Really
it from,
good.
from a guy in one of the tours. He said,
Yes.
I've been drinking the salt coffee everybody drinks, and it's really good.
Ooh.
So it's like you start with jet fuel coffee, and then they make a kind of, it's like they have a cream and they whip it a little bit and they put salt in the cream and then they put the cream on top of the coffee and then you stir it all up. And it's pretty amazing.
Wow, it does sound good. Sounds
Also,
beautiful.
Yeah.
it's like it's so hot here. What's been a savior for us is smoothies. And like next door to us,
Yeah.
it's next door.
Yes.
There's a place that will sell you like a mango smoothie or a passion fruit smoothie or a banana mango smoothie for 35,000 dong, which is about $1.25, on in a big glass, heaped up, and it's, oh man, it's a lifesaver.
Yeah. Good for you. That's
And
great.
I have been drinking.
What's the temperature?
I've been sweating so much. Like
Yeah.
every day we'll go to like the local mini mart and we'll buy like 5 or 6 waters and some various other like weird sparkling pomegranate beverages and whatever we see.
What numbers would you give the average weather here, Eugene?
It's been getting up to about I'm going to say in Fahrenheit, midday over 90.
Okay, so 32 in Celsius.
32, 33, and then it's cooler. The last couple of days, it's been quite a bit cooler in the morning and in the evening. This morning, when we were out to get breakfast, it was actually very pleasant.
Yeah.
You got air
but I
in
can
your
see
room?
out the window now. It's very sunny, so it'll be hot.
Do you have air in your room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
And I confess, we turn it on Canadian.
Yeah, I bet you do. Sounds
And then
good.
it goes regular, then it could go Minnesota or it could go Canadian.
Okay, sounds good.
So here's a cultural difference for you.
Yeah.
Here, they look at us funny because we use toilet paper.
Okay.
They have, it's not exactly a bidet. They just have the regular toilet, but then they have a hose. It's referred to here as a bum gun.
Okay.
We haven't tried the bum gun because we're scared.
Yeah. I'm scared hearing about it.
Yeah, that's a cultural difference.
I told Stagg to bring toilet paper.
That we're doing okay. Stagg gave a couple of Georges to the maid, and she's looking after us.
All right, sounds good. Now I still need to hear about this Museum of Ethnology or
Oh yeah. Okay, first of all, it's way out. It's out past Westlake.
Yeah.
It's quite a way out there. And you get there, and it's like you're in a different city. Could be any city, any modern city. This is the area that's getting into modern Hanoi. And there's some areas where maybe people with lots more money or the expats who come in and have fancy jobs are living. And there's like really nice looking apartments, that kind of thing. And you get to the Museum of Ethnology, and it's a 2-story round building with a hole in the middle, like a donut, like a 2-story donut. And they tell you right up front, there's 55 ethnic groups, and they try to break down for you like how they're all different and how they're all the same. And that's what the museum is all about, what all the different ethnic groups do.
And when you walk in, there's a giant tower thing with these decorations on it.
Like a maypole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eugene pointed out to me near the one entrance, the thing's so tall that the thing that you're looking at sits on top of that thing. So there's this big pole all decorated and it's off to the side.
Yeah.
It's like they broke it into 2 parts because it's too tall. It won't fit in the museum.
Okay.
So when you're on the different levels, you still see the thing going all the way up.
Okay.
And its purpose is to pull, let's just say for brevity's sake, they pull the heavens down. So it's the connection between our earth.
And they dance around it.
Yeah, and it's decorated. And so you go from group to group and they show you the instruments, the clothes, the photos, where these locations are on maps.
And some of the different groups have different skills. Like the Hmong people are really good at, they grow the silkworms, they make the thread, they weave the the clothing. They make their own dyes. They grow this stuff to make this indigo dye, this really dark blue dye, and they make the most exquisite embroidered items. Like just really, really gorgeous.
They showed a couple other groups with they look like not primitive, like kind of like an arrow gun, and they're hunters.
They have crossbows with poison arrows.
Yeah.
And then there's one group that they use elephants. And they have big displays talking about how they have people they call them the elephant kings. And they'll go out and they'll find elephants in the wild, and they'll try to pick off a couple of the calves, separate them from the herd. And then these elephant kings work with these elephants, basically by encouraging them, by feeding them sugarcane and other stuff that elephants really love, to train them to work with them, and they become like family members.
Oh, wow.
They live in the compound with the family, and next door, but in the area, in the compound. And they transport stuff, and it's fascinating the way they're interdependent. And there's a lot of serious talk about how, in Vietnam, if there is a tourist opportunity, it will be taken.
Right.
So in some of these areas, you can go in and pay to go ride on the elephants.
Yeah.
And some people are saying, and even some of the tourists are saying, look, it's okay to bring the tourists in here, but let's not do the ride on the elephants. Let's see the elephants do their thing. And
I can tell you right now, Stag's not going to go on an elephant. I can't believe he went on the boat.
So this ethnology museum, it's very, very good. It's 2 floors, but when we finished it, we had expected it was going to be a little bit bigger. Okay. And we get out and we see there's something else outdoors. Let's go walk around this little park area. That looks really interesting. They've got something out here. Yeah. Well, they've taken, how many buildings would you say, Stagg?
I don't know.
20?
15 to 20?
Actual historic buildings that are mud buildings and thatch buildings that had been lived in, and they identify the people who lived in them. Like this was last lived in 1906, and then it was sitting there, and the museum was able to acquire it and somehow bring the entire building on site. And they've set up a ton of these buildings there, so you can go in them and you can see how these different cultures actually live by being in the actual buildings they were living in.
And then they show you the descriptions of how many people it takes to make the building. And like Eugene said, they went to the exact area. They named the person's house, who that was and is, and when the house was put up and by what methods. So the whole thing from beginning to end, let's say.
So all of this, like we thought we were finished with the museum. Well, we spent another hour and a half just wandering through all these outdoor displays to see how people lived, because it was fascinating.
Very cool.
And it was beautifully done. And then we think we're done, but there's this other building there, and we didn't know if that was part of the museum or what. So we thought on the way out, we'll just check it out. Well, it's another building that's very modern. They've just built it. And they have an exhibition in there now of like cultural exchange with other cultures. Like they have a huge Korean exhibition in there. They even had a Go table, traditional and modern Korean life. And they had Indonesian life.
They had some African objects. They had so much.
But it wasn't like, in many museums, it's all full of stolen artifacts. This is a friendship exchange, and it's a different sort of thing. And one of the beauties of both the Ethnology Museum and the Women's Museum is it's not full of stolen artifacts. It's full of beautifully preserved and revered Vietnamese artifacts, celebrating their history and their culture. And they're both, I'm going to say, the Ethnology Museum in Hanoi and the Women's Museum in Hanoi are world-class, 2 of the best museums I've ever been in.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Tell Candy about the interviews.
Oh, the interviews. Okay, and Walking Street.
Uh-huh.
On the weekend in downtown Hanoi in the old quarter, there's a lake called Hon Kim Lake or Sword Lake, and it's the size of, say, Grenadier Pond. You could walk around it in 40 minutes,
Mhm.
and it's like the cultural hub in a way. If you go walking at 6 in the morning to Hon Kim Lake, you'll see people doing Tai Chi. You'll see people doing dance moves they'll bring out speakers and plug it in somewhere, and they're all doing dances. Um, And on the weekends, the streets around the lake become Walking Street, and people come from all over to hang out on Walking Street. And they have concerts. They set up huge stages, and there's free concerts going on. And we sit down by the lake,
Yeah.
and somebody comes by. We're sitting down having a smoothie or something,
Yeah.
and somebody comes by and says, "Excuse me, do you mind talking to my student in English?"
Oh.
I said, "Sure."
Oh.
So we start talking to this kid.
Yep.
And then this guy says, "Thank you very much." And he moves on after 10 minutes or so. And somebody else is right there. Do you mind talking to my son or my daughter about in English? So we spent an afternoon sitting there holding court, talking to kids in English.
How cool.
And it was one of the most joyful, beautiful experiences.
Aw.
Some of these kids, I talked to one kid,
Was there
he's
English?
going to run this country.
Oh,
I'm
really?
sorry?
Well, how was their English?
Some of them, like one kid I talked to, he was maybe 5 and he was really kind of struggling with his pronunciation, but his comprehension was good. This one kid I talked to, he's talking to me like he's a professor. He's 9. And he says, "What kind of Vietnamese food do you like?" And I said, "Well, I really enjoy bun cha." And he says, "Yes, bun cha is a scrumptious, deconstructed dish that's a specialty in Hanoi."
Oh, wow.
This kid's like a professor. So I say, "How long have you been speaking English?" And he said, "Since I was 0. "Since you were
Oh,
0? He says, "Yes, my mom is an English teacher."
how sweet.
And um, they're all at different levels. And even one taxi driver coming back from Westlake yesterday, he's saying things into Google Translate and seeing them come up in English so he can learn some of the English
Right.
phrases and syntax. He's
Right.
saying, "I want to learn English. It's hard for me," because
Yeah.
he's starting late.
Yeah.
But these kids are starting at 5, or in the one case 0. And some of them are doing so well and they're so motivated to learn.
Yeah.
Their parents have taught them that learning English is going to be an advantage for you in our culture
Mhm.
because you get the jobs dealing with the tourists.
I guess so, right? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so they go out on walking street days and they ask people, "Will you talk to my student or my son in English?" It was just the most fun time
So
being
sweet.
interviewed by these kids.
And they're getting a more grassroots kind of conversation.
Yes, practical conversation.
Practical.
So they come with questions, but
Yeah.
of course, Stagg and I were immediately hip to the idea that we should be asking questions back and
Oh,
challenging
yeah.
their English, and
Yeah.
they're good. And there's the kids who wanted to play with us, right? And they're like, "Guess the combination of this lock."
Yeah. There's these 2 boys. One of them had glasses,
Yeah,
and the
see
other
in
one
about
was
2
like,
days.
And then they said, "Okay, close your eyes. We're gonna hide the lock, and you have to find it." So we go along with it, right? We're playing hide
Yeah.
and seek with the lock,
Yeah.
and they're telling us if we're warmer or colder.
I'm
Wow.
really selling it too. I was wandering way away, looking by these trees.
Nice.
They didn't even go, "It's not over there." They just like focusing on Eugene. It was fun.
That's cool. It's like the guy in Perfect Day. Now is now.
Yeah.
But it really was a highlight to talk to these children who were the joy of learning. Just and they're as they're getting it, they're really enjoying getting it, really enjoying learning. And so they're having great fun asking people to talk to them.
Right. Cool.
And you could see that the kids and the moms and the teachers were hip to the fact that we were enjoying it too.
Yeah.
So there would be a couple of kids talking to us, and typically there'd be one talking to Anthony and one talking to me.
Yeah.
And then they would leave, and just immediately someone else would appear. Like they're almost like they're waiting in line discreetly without looking like they're waiting in line.
How are you, Candy? What's
I'm
happening
very
with you?
well. I'm very well. I'm
Good.
I will admit that I had a couple drinks before we talked. I'm in
Good.
I'm in Michigan. I'm going to go down to the casino after we wrap up here and try my luck.
Okay.
You know, the place where we stayed
Nice.
to take a break on the drive home.
Yeah.
Yeah, Firekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's good. I had a wonderful visit with everyone in Toronto, and that went really well. And I'm going to go back home, and it's going to be weird that you're not there. It's wonderful to see you two. I was really worried about if you're getting sleep because you both look kind of tired, but you're just eating and hiking and enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Well, we are this morning. I guess we are both still pretty tired this morning
Yeah.
because the walk yesterday to Westlake was maybe 6 times more difficult than either of us had imagined.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But it was worth it. I'd
Yes.
do it again to see all those
Yes,
wild
of course.
animals and all the ceramics and
Of course.
the weird little places where they're selling like motors that you don't know what they're for, and
Yeah.
all the
But-
garden areas.
it seemed as if as we were getting closer to Westlake, it seemed as if we were getting further from Westlake. It's like we're never going to get there. And
Oh,
I just got it in my head. I want to see this damn lake.
yeah.
So we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Because there's no straight lines. You look at a map, it all looks semi-organized.
But it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a kind of chaos in this city, which is beautiful,
Yeah.
but which there's no respite from it.
Right.
Like if you go out to Westlake, yeah, it's quieter, and you can find some quieter spots. But if you're walking around in the old quarter, the first thing to know is that, like, what is the sidewalk for, Candy?
I know what it's for. It's for walking on.
No, it's for parking motorbikes and setting up
So you
illegal
have to
street food
walk
stalls.
around a lot of things.
Yes, you're going off the curb, up the curb, down the curb. You have to walk on the road.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean that there are buses and cars and
Correct.
motorbikes.
So it's exhausting to walk around. You always have to be vigilant.
It can be,
Vigilant.
yes.
Yes.
And crossing the road, we're kind of good at it now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you have to be careful of the cars.
Yeah.
Because the cars might not stop.
Yeah.
You don't worry. You just stop worrying about the motorbikes.
Right.
Like we did a crossing the other night or the other morning. We're walking across, and there's like 100 motorbikes converging on us, and we're just walking across, and they swarm around you like schools of fish.
Yeah.
It's at first it's mortifying.
Yeah.
But we realize everybody else does it.
Right. Yeah.
And the only time I'll cross in front of a car is if there's some little old lady with her fruit cart or something. I'll hide in the cover of her.
Like holding here, let me help you cross. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I know that our listeners are going to be very happy to hear you from Vietnam, and that you're
I know we were kind of over enthusiastic because we're having a ball.
Well, no, it's great. There's been lots of pictures. I think people are really enjoying them, and it's just great to hear your voices. And you still have several days left to your trip, and I think it's a nice way to break it up.
Yeah, I'm glad we've had a chance to talk to you. iPhone tomorrow, and then we've got Friday and Saturday. We don't really have plans for. We'll do whatever we feel like.
Yeah.
We're probably going to go back to Barbecue Chicken Street one of those nights because we do have a request for more Barbecue Chicken Street pictures from one of our viewers.
Very good. Very good. And I'd like pictures of the hotel room, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Wish you all
Yeah.
good numbers.
I love you both.
Love you too.
Okay, good night.